as is in our new norm, we're going to ease into this thing and get much more official in a few moments. But I'll softly welcome you to the gathering of minds and of squares, Zoom squares, for the discussion of the shortlist for the 2024 Fasig-Tipton Mid-Atlantic sale, a sale that has brought us, as recently as last year, a graded stakes placed horse in Scatify. He's a graduate of this sale last year, son of Justify. I think Tommy and I were talking about maybe our all-time favorite, not favorite, but our all-time best. And Terry chimed in as well, too, and confirmed Mr. Fantasy, winner of the Withers, is another West Point graduate of this sale. And of course, last year's Kentucky Derby winner is a recent graduate of the Fasig-Tipton Mid-Atlantic 2-year-old in training sale. And for somebody who's been around the block now some 30 years in the business and more than 2 decades with West Point, I know that this sale is one that a lot of consigners look to because they may have a later developing horse. They have a specific niche type of horse, a Pennsylvania bred or a New York bred that they really want to highlight, or they like their chances on a dirt track, which is exactly what you see here at the Maryland State Fairgrounds, versus the synthetic tracks that you see now in Ocala, the synthetic track where they breeze in Ocala. So for a number of different reasons, this is a sale a lot of people point to. It comes right after the Preakness, so you've got a little bit of a hangover from the people that just won or just ran big on Preakness weekend. But I think it is a very, very special, unique sale as a result of that. And Tom, as we know, it is the crab cake sale. Danielle Austin, our own Danielle Austin, had one just for lunch today, crab cake sandwich. All right, with that, let's get really, really official and let you know that this call will be recorded, that we'll talk about 10 on our short list for tomorrow. Sale begins tomorrow in the morning, and you'll be getting information, we hope, continually, if you've signed up for the texts, on what our amended or expanded short list might be, because it's a fluid list that we're going to be talking about. But we've got the crew assembled. We have 10 2-year-olds to start with today. One of the things that we really hope to accomplish with this particular 2-year-old in training sale, having gone through the first 2 Ocala sales, is a focus on fillies. And so you'll notice there's plenty of fillies in these 10, and maybe there'll be the same sort of representation when we go through our short list tomorrow at the same time for the second of the 2 days of the sale. So sale starts at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can view it online, www.fasig-tipton.com. And of course, sign up for the text so you know exactly in almost real time what we've done at this particular sale. Let's start off with hip number 23. This is a filly by Vino Rosso out of a Ghost Zapper mare. She's consigned by Nick Demerick, and I'll tell you why I think this is a little bit eerie. This is a New York bred filly. They gave $45,000 for this filly at the Saratoga New York bred sale that comes right after the select sale. This filly breezed, I thought, effortlessly. It was so easy. You can see the rider's not doing a lot with her. Her ears are up. She's bellied up. She's reaching beautifully. This is a just easy as you can please 10-3 that she did on one of the first days of the Breeze, the Under Tax show. That was good for more than half a foot, actually 0.60 above the stride average. And the notes from the team that were there in the shoot that this filly really went out well. So after she crossed the wire, she continued on and really did it with great energy and did it really all by herself. She's medium-sized, and she has what you can see here is a spectacular loose walk. Vino Rosso, of course, is the Breeders' Cup Classic winner and the son of Curlin. But this filly reminds me of her mother's side of the family, Ghost Zapper, and specifically our own Gallon Rush. I found it almost eerie and uncanny that Nick Demerick, who consigned Gallon Rush for us a number of years ago, our filly who is just nothing short of consistent and, quietly spectacular. This particular filly consigned by the same outfit. She's a New York bred, and she's by Vino Rosso, breezed beautifully, and she's hip number 23, the first of a number of fillies that we're going to highlight in our short list call today. Next up is hip number 66, another filly, this one by Practical Joke, out of a Leroy de Saint-Amand mare. Of course, he was the sire of Animal Kingdom. Mason Springs, which is an outfit that is well represented here at the Fasig-Tipton, Maryland sale, is the consigner here. She's a Kentucky bred. They did not meet their reserve as a yearling, did not meet their reserve. 95,000 was the last bid for this Practical Joke. She breezed 10-2, and you can see in slow-mo here as she comes off the turn and now finishing up her 1/8 of a mile breeze. She breezed beautifully, and she did it with real style. She was 1.02 feet above the average. That was good for Group 1. And Jason Blewett, Practical Joke, has had himself a really good couple of years and is he's a great representative of his sire, who is sire of sires now, Into Mischief.
Yeah, it's been a monstrous run for Practical Joke, and I feel like out of all the sons of Into Mischief currently standing at stud, in my humble opinion, he's the best one. I almost view Practical Joke, even at this stage, like buying Apple stock, say in like 2011, maybe 2010, where it was already hot, but you just knew it was going to just keep going up into like this meteoric rise. And you've got a versatile pedigree on this filly here. And just to wrap up with Practical Joke, I mean, he currently stands 6th on the general sires list in 2024. Some of the horses behind him on that list currently: Justify, Constitution, Curlin, Uncle Mo. So I'm a big Practical Joke fan, and I think he's got one of the best 3-year-old fillies that he sired in the nation in Ways and Means. So I'm calling it now is your test winner this August in Saratoga.
That's a good call. Calls his shots. And also the sire of Skelly, who we've faced a couple of times and probably don't want to face again. Would that be correct, Jason?
Yeah, no, I mean, Jackson had that huge win in the Count Fleet early this winter. We were trying for another stakes win, and Skelly not only drilled our horse and everybody else in that race. The reaction I had was, I mean, Skelly is a true Breeders' Cup Sprint quality horse. I mean, if that horse won the BC Sprint later this year at Del Mar and was sprint champion, I don't think it would surprise anybody. So neat seeing Leroy de Saint-Amand in the pedigree. You've got Indian Charlie as the third dam. We're big fans of Indian Charlie as a broodmare sire here at West Point. And yeah, there's a lot to like with the filly, who across the board I thought was just a very pretty and efficient mover in that furlong breeze in 10-2.
Next up is another filly. I promised you we were going to go on the female side, and we are. We're well represented there. Something that partners have talked to us about, and we're really trying to, sort of listen and follow suit. This is an Uncle Mo filly out of a marquetry mare, so it's an older mare. Pickview is the consigner here. They're the same consigners as Bourbon's Fault. This is Kentucky bred filly, hip 125. She's going to be, she might be on the pricier side as a result of her, superstar stallion. And she galloped. The reason being is she's got this little infection right on her chest wall, and I don't think they wanted to mess with that too much in the breeze. Nevertheless, she galloped beautifully. And we always go to, a guy on our staff that has a little connection to Uncle Mo and Mike Rapoli. Jason, this filly looks a lot like Uncle Mo.
Powerful, big. He's stamped. The good ones aren't really stamped with any markings. I mean, they're kind of plain as far as their overall bodies go and say markings. But yes, she is big. She is strong, like Uncle Mo was. And I mean, geez, he's turned into a sire of sires, even thinking about a Derby winner in Nyquist and Golden Pal, who he sired is a new sire at Coolmore. And the dam, Jeff, I mean, looking back through this horse's pedigree page here, I love like these old school, real blue blood type mares like this daughter of marquetry. She's a little up there in age. I mean, she's 20 years old, but you talk about the production, my friend. I mean, she's had 11 prior foals, 7 winners out of 9 to race, including Basilica, who danced a lot of dances and did some real damage for a number of years, running at a very high Grade 1 level out on the West Coast. So again, the pedigree's there. I love Uncle Mo, and yeah, would love to bring this filly home tomorrow afternoon. That's for sure.
On the obscure but cool side, see all the way down into the third dam, Prince of Thieves, who was
I saw. Yep.
in the
I
Kentucky
saw.
Derby that Grindstone won over
Mm-hmm.
Cavalier back in 1996. Prince of Thieves was a hell of a nice racehorse, and so there's quality up and down this filly's line. So well done talking about Basilica, who I know you were a fan of. We were all a fan of Basilica, but I loved seeing Prince of Thieves there at the bottom. Just a little
I
piece
did.
of
I did too. Not to interrupt, Jeff, but also it's like the perfect tie-in to what we saw yesterday with the coach D. Wayne Lucas winning his 8th Preakness, because he also trained way back when Prince of Thieves almost 30 years ago.
100%. Great for the game, seeing what that was like yesterday. All the people, all the trainers, guys that he competed with who were really crawling all over themselves to congratulate him in a really sincere fashion. That's what being 88, nearly 89 and winning a classic does for you. But I digress. Let's move back to the fillies, and we've got one more. So it's 4 fillies in a row here. This is Hip 171. This is a Justify filly out of a Jazzle mare. Look at the markings on her. Just big, beautiful blaze on this filly by Justify. She's consigned by a good friend, Stevie Venosa, goes under SGV sales. Kentucky bred. They spent some money on this filly, so she's going to be a little bit more on the expensive side. They paid $230,000 for at the Keeneland September yearling sale. She breezed 10-2, and her stride length was considerable. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. She was spot on. She was right on the average. She was 0.05 above average. She went out extremely well. And one of the things that I just love about her is that Justify shines through in such a big way with her. She is a bigger, stronger version at this stage of the game as a filly than our Colt Scatify. They both have a very similar body type. She just is a bigger, stronger version at this stage of the game. And the breeze, as you notice, you see her tugging so hard against the reins. There was not any kind of encouragement or big time encouragement from the rider's perspective with Hip 171. That was all her. Very impressive breeze by this Justify filly, as I said, out of a Jazzle mare, who of course won the Belmont Stakes. A very, very nice pedigree page with Turcomon there under the 4th dam, just a legendary horse in his own right. So Hip 171, going to be a little bit pricier, but I think just a fabulous version of Justify, and a filly we'd love to take home. On to Hip 183. This is a May foal, and it's our first colt. It's an Honest Mischief colt out of a Malibu Moon mare. Of course, Honest Mischief from that amazing Juddmonte family. Tommy McCrocklin, a very, very accomplished consigner and a guy we've bought horses from, including our own Sandman from the first March sale of the year over at OBS. This is a New York bred. We paid $120,000 for this son of Honest Mischief. And he breezed 10-2, 1/8 of a mile, but he did it in such a way that he impressed everybody. He was 1.23 feet above the average, so more than a foot above average. He was in that first quartile. All of the horses that we're seeing in this group were either first or second quartile. That's where we like to buy. And Tom Bellhouse, this is a May foal, but he's a big dude, and he's very well mannered.
You know, Jeff, we've seen some of these Honest Mischief by Into Mischief at the sales at Ocala and in the fall, and they've really, most of them have really rung the bell. That when they look like this, obviously a May foal, still a lot of growing to do. This horse is from a really fascinating family, a Malibu Moon mare, and there's a horse. The half sister is, I believe, it's called Virtual Reality, and it's a horse that Chad Brown has for Claravich that won at Aqueduct in April, second to 2 other than. You look at this colt, up and down, Thunder Gulch, Malibu Moon, and a body like that with the May foal, obviously the New York bred is a bonus in this type situation, but really just a good looking horse, Jeff.
I agree. And on the shank, he does not he does not look like he's sort of like a, an honest mischief. He looks like an into mischief. He's got that big, powerful body. And understandably, when you talk about that top line of into mischief out of Honest Lady, Seattle Slew, that's Juddmonte all the way. That's one of the top Juddmonte families from the family of First Defense, etc. So, any rate, that's hip 183, a New York bred colt by Honest Mischief. On to hip 187. So we're going to go colt, and then we'll get back to the Philly Parade. This is a Good Magic colt out of the JBK mare, also consigned by our good friend Steve Venosa under SGV Thoroughbreds. A Florida bred. You're looking at the breeze right now, which was super quick, 10 flat, 0.04 above the average. So right on spot of the average. The notes that we have from our team was that this horse in particular impressed with how well it galloped out after the breeze, after hitting the wire. Second quartile, just a really, really nice breeze from this colt by Good Magic. And Good Magic, understandably, we talked about this sale being famous now over the past couple of years for having produced the Kentucky Derby winner, Mage. Good Magic was not a huge 2-year-old and wasn't a huge 3-year-old either. That's really what I look for in terms of stamping when I see these Good Magics. Do they look a lot like Dad? And in this case, this one was definitely this colt is definitely Mage size. Out of the JBK mare, Silver Deputy line on the mom side of the family. And look, you see another stallion in there, World of Trouble, under the second dam, and then Bouchereau, who is also a stallion down here in Florida. So there's stallion underneath the second and third dams by a top-notch stallion in Good Magic, and one that looks like one of the good Magics, meaning from a size perspective, having breezed super fast from a consignment that we really, really expect high quality horses to come out of, including Northern Invader. Steve Venosa joked for years and years, and he sold Vacoma and developed Vacoma, who is now a stallion that's on the come. He was always joking that, gosh, we just never seem to connect West Point and me, Steve Venosa. Well, Northern Invader took care of all that. He's on a tear, and Stevie asked me today about him. So exciting to look at another horse that could be another big time horse from the Stevie Venosa consignment. That's hip number 187, a 10 flat breezer by Good Magic. Now on to hip 203. This is another filly, so we're going back to the fillies here. This is a filly by Instilled Regard, who ran in the Kentucky Derby with Justify in her own My Boy Jack. So that would have been, what, 2018, I think, Tom Bellhouse? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. We were all wet that day. It was an all-day rain. But this Instilled Regard filly out of a big brown mare is a Kentucky bred, consigned by Jesse Hopple. Didn't give much money for this horse, for this filly as a weanling, 18,000. But boy, has she grown up beautifully. And Tom was asking me, because I was, obviously had a chance to see these horses on the shank, because of the family here. We have our own grade 1 winner under the second or third dam in Irish Smoke. And does she look a lot like Irish Smoke? Well, in color, of course she does. She does look quite a bit like Irish Smoke, but she's much taller version. That's one reason why they breezed a quarter mile with her. She's one that just needs a while to get rolling here. She's a big, tall, scopy thing. 21-1 for the quarter. It was right on the average, 0.08 above the average in the second quartile. And Tom, anytime you get Irish Smoke mentioned to a West Point person, the heart kind of goes pitter-patter.
Yeah, Irish Smoke was part of the magical summer of 2007, and where we won 5 grade 1s, and her winning that spinaway, we had gotten to the point by the end of that summer we expected to win everything we ran, right, Jeff? It was just amazing. But funny story on Irish Smoke. She eventually became property of IEAH, and if you look at the dam is the dam sire is Big Brown. So I think that's where you get some of this size that you're seeing, obviously in still regard being a son of Arch. So you have some real strong, sturdy pedigree there. But I think that size probably comes from the big brown side of things on the mare. And if she's as athletic as she looks in the videos, listen, we've had some really nice luck with Irish Smoke and with that Arch line on top. So it'd be great to bring this filly home.
Well, she was one of the, Tommy, she was one of the first horses that we looked at this morning. And normally you're a little bit more critical as you start off. You don't want to love something right off the bat because that makes you feel kind of foolish. Like there's got to be, even better horses than this one. But I was like, turned to Danielle Austin, who we were walking with, and I said, she's a keeper. We got to keep her. She's got those big ears too, which I find to be not just endearing. I think it's a good physical trait. So hip 203, instilled regard from the first crop of instilled regards for 2-year-olds out of a big brown mare from the family of Irish Smoke. That's hip 203. Let's move on to hip 218. This is another filly. As I said, we're going to be heavy on the fillies today. This is by Omaha Beach out of a Majestic Perfection mare consigned by SBM Thoroughbreds and Sales. Got Kentucky bred. They gave a little bit of money for this stunning looking daughter of Omaha Beach. They gave $100,000 for her last October at the Fasig-Tipton sale there in Kentucky, in Lexington. She breezed 10-1. Her stride length, oh my goodness, it's massive. 1.21 above the sale average, and she was in the first quartile. One of the things that I do, and I think I'm certainly not alone, is you make notations about the physical, you make notations sometimes about the pedigree when you're evaluating a horse, and then you make your own little sort of mark that kind of reminds you if you really like this horse or not. I put plenty of stars on my page when I finished up evaluating this filly. She's awesome. She's got a massive push and reach. She's very leggy. She looks to be 2 turns, even though she's got some beautiful sort of sprint pedigree on the mom side of the family. But she's leggy like her dad. Omaha Beach, even though he was by Warfront, we've said this a number of times, Warfront, he sometimes stamps his horses very typey. He was not a big horse. There's a lot of Warfronts that are really good that are a bit on the medium to even smaller side. But Omaha Beach, as a son of Warfront, was towering. He was very scopy. And this filly looks a lot like her dad in terms of that. She screams out 2 turns. She has the it walk. Something about how she moves through herself is just so compelling, so exciting to watch, and she's very correct. So if you think I'm excited about 218, yeah, I'm excited about 218. She really stood out in the latter part of the morning as we had gone through quite a few horses and made me, basically do a double take. There's the pedigree I mentioned out of the Majestic Perfection mare from the family of Valiancy, and there's some good sort of French pedigree on the mom's side of the family as well. This is a filly that I think, we're going to take a good hard look at once the bidding starts tomorrow, and she'll be later on in the sale. So we'll see. We'll have a really good idea of vetting and momentum of the sale at that point. We'll move on to hip 234. This is a colt by Practical Joke out of an Indian Charlie mare. Good friend Kieran Dunn from Wavertree Stables is the consigner here. This is a Kentucky bred. They gave $150,000 for as a yearling at Keeneland. Breezed 10 flat. That was about 1/3 of a foot above the average for the sale, going an 1/8 of a mile. And the notes for this particular colt are pretty standout in terms of how he looked from our evaluators in the chute, where the horses come onto the racetrack and come off the racetrack. He got an OK plus, which is a very high mark in terms of how he came out to do his work and how he finished and left the track and just kind of kept his composure. He's a colt with some good size. He looks an awful lot like a well-balanced athlete at first glance. And Jason, he's a May foal, but he sure don't look it. He really doesn't look it.
No, he's a real like jaw-dropping Adonis. I mean, even in that still photo, that static photo Jeff Lowe had up a couple of seconds ago. I was like, wow. I mean, he is really, really stunning and beautiful. Breathed really well. And I mean, aside from the work and just treating him as an individual, going back through the second dam, it's not often you get a chance to really buy into a legacy like the Winchell legacy. And you think of all of Ron Winchell and his family's success with Steve Asmussen, Gunrunner. I mean, you could go right down the list. Summerly, who they won the Kentucky Oaks with, our very own Legalize, who's a 3-year-old and a stakes winner trained by Cherie DeVoe. So I mean, there's a lot of meat in that second dam. And even in the what have you done for me lately department, I do like that this colt had a full sister who was a 2-year-old last summer in Saratoga named Kaling. She won first out, was third in the spinaway, grade 1 spinaway, Labor Day weekend at the Spa last September, and then was sold as a racing prospect earlier this year for $650,000. So I mean, clearly that's a mating practical joke with this Indian Charlie dam that worked beautifully with Kaling, and I like everything I see for sure with this colt.
She was a buzz horse. I mean, these 2-year-olds come and go up at Saratoga, Jason, but the ones that, that do what she did and then come back and run big in the spinaway, she was a talking horse, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she was a Todd Pletcher trained horse who was very precocious and speedy off the bat. And I think that's another potential positive and avenue. I mean, this does, even though the fact that it's a May sale, it's pretty late in the 2-year-old sale season, and he is a May foal. Looks like there's a lot of precocity and a lot of speed in this family, but then you've got the staying power and all that hardiness in that second dam, and it's an extensive, prolific list. So again, I think you kind of it's probably an often used but overused statement, but this is one that kind of just as you go along, this colt checks all the boxes for sure.
Tremendous family and a tremendous physical. Thank you, Jason. On to our last horse, Hip 269, a filly by Caravaggio out of a Roman ruler mare. David Scanlon, who sold us Scatify last year, is the consigner of this Kentucky bred. She's never been through a sale. This is her first sale, and she did it well. The Breeze Show was a standout performance. She went 10-1. She was 0.86 feet above the average, so nearly a foot above the average, and in the first quartile. Caravaggio, Tom Bellhouse, for those who remember Scat Daddy well and loved his progeny. Justify is certainly one of the, is the top son of Scat Daddy, but there's others. And Coolmore has been, I think, very, very quick to take advantage of that, that legacy of Scat Daddy.
Jeff, you look at these May foals, and we have a few of them here on the list today, and you can't help but think this is what you want May foals to look like. You want them to be just coming into their own and hitting their stride. Caravaggio has had 4 crops. He stands in Japan right now, but littered with grade 1 winners. The dam of this horse is by Roman Ruler, a group 1 winner herself in Chile. You look at this cross, we constantly hear people of, oh, you breed into the same horses and this and that, but you bring in that Scat Daddy line as well as the South American bloodline here. I think this just makes up for an exciting filly that could be anything. Whether I'm thinking it'll probably be on the grass, but the fact that she breathes so well on the dirt at Timonium makes you think she might be good on all surfaces.
This is a little teaching point to some of our partners that are looking at the video that Tom was talking over. This is a very correct filly. She comes right at you. Her legs are not, sort of going off to one side. She really comes at you like a walking tabletop. And that's an impressive, physical trait in its own right. So that's Hip 269, a filly by Caravaggio. as I said, we don't know, really what they're looking for in terms of price because there's no sales history. So she's kind of an open book in that regard. Something for everybody tomorrow with an emphasis on fillies. I've got one question, but we'll look to answer that. But I wanted to invite anybody else who had a chat, a Q&A, if wanted to raise their hand and do a vocal question to the rest of us, you're welcome to do so. So the first question is from Bruce Kaplan, asking, will the Florida bred, and that would be the Good Magic colt, go back to Florida to train and race initially? That's from Bruce and Wendy Kaplan. Probably not to race, Bruce. There's always a chance that they'll go down to Florida to spend a little time, just kind of as, Jason's been great at going over to Doc Eisman's and to Eddie's, et cetera, because he's closest. Just chill out for a little while before they go on to whatever trainer. But I would suspect not racing per se down in Florida right off the bat. But Jason, that program in the late summer and early fall is something you definitely want to ship in for if you have a pretty nice 2-year-old.
For sure. There are numerous Florida bred stakes that this horse is eligible for. He won't be eligible for the Florida Sire Stakes because he is sired, of course, by Good Magic, who stands in Kentucky, and that's a series restricted to Florida-based stallions. But no, I mean, you've got a year-round racing schedule here with tons of opportunities. That's the kind of horse that if we were lucky enough to bring him home, I don't know who the trainer might be, but I would envision, assuming it was an East Coast guy, next winter that horse could very well be racing down here at Gulfstream Park. But in terms of running like summertime fall down here, probably not the case.
Thank you, Bruce and Wendy. They're Florida fans. It's a great state.
It is a great state.
It's
a little warm though. Summer has arrived. It was a pretty moderate winter and spring, but the last couple of weeks it's gotten toasty. It's just about time to head on up to Saratoga, if I do say so myself.
It is that time. And Trey Gordon has a smile on his face indicating that he's anxious to get up to Saratoga as well too. So any more questions? Richard wants to know, how many horses are you buying? I'm going to say a couple to maybe 4 or so at the max. That's what Terry kind of gave out as an indication to the team just this past week. You never say never, and you don't want to put an absolute number on it, Richard, but that would be my guess. Last year we bought, I think, 4 horses in the 2-year-old sale here in Maryland, including the aforementioned Scatify, and that was a good number. It helped round out, for the most part. We did buy Independence Avenue at the June sale down in Ocala, but it pretty much rounded out our 2-year-old season. And I appreciate the question. Anybody else to ask a question of our esteemed group of panelists here? All right, hearing none, and I know that Jeff Silver, I've got one. I got one more question. Why such an emphasis on fillies, from Bruce? Oh, great question. Guys, I'll throw it around the horn, but my guess is a couple of reasons. One, we haven't bought many. We bought the B Jersey filly. We bought the Spun to Run filly. I may have missed one other. The Vacoma filly?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There were 3 from March. And then the April sale, we bought 7 colts at OBS April.
So that's one reason why, Bruce, if we can, we love to balance it out because we know that they're fans of fillies, and I personally, from my customer base, my people, have been hearing, yeah, I'd love to have a filly, such and such, and so, yeah, that's the reason why in my mind. Tom, am I missing the boat here?
Not at all. Not at all. I think we traditionally we're a little more balanced at each sale, just the way it worked out at OBS April, that a few fillies we had on either didn't vet or we got outbid on. I mean, it's just, there wasn't any rhyme or reason that it ended up that way. But, obviously coming into one of the last couple sales, we would like to add a few fillies to round out the numbers.
Tell you this much, as a grizzled veteran of West Point Thoroughbreds, now into my 3rd decade with the company, we've won the Derby. We won the Breeders' Cup Classic. those are colt races typically. It's getting a little old. I really want to win the Oaks, okay? Really want to win the Oaks. So no, I think it's good to have some balance in the stable. Bruce, thanks for your question. Let's see if I got anything else here. All right, hearing none, we're going to adjourn and meet back up, sort of virtually speaking, when the texts go out tomorrow morning from our team telling you, because we don't have the vet work in on these horses yet, but telling you basically how the list will change, and it will change. It always seems to. Few added, few knocked off, etc. But this is a good core. And then at 11 o'clock East Coast time, it all starts, the first day of the 2-day sale. So if you have questions, shoot them out to your rep. We're happy to let you know what we have on our agenda. But in the meantime, we'll, as I said, reconvene virtually tomorrow for the first day of the 2-year-old sale here from Crab Country, Maryland. Take care, everybody.